raising the debt ceiling limit, that is having an impact on rates. With uncertainty, it impacts what goes on with the rates, and let's hope that, fingers crossed, it gets resolved sooner rather than later. The Fed does not set interest rates that the borrowers pay, but its actions do influence them. And we all know how rate sensitive buyers are right now, okay? Rates went down slightly on the back of a very good, or better than expected, CPI report for May. It was only 0.3%. Fingers crossed, if it's strong again in June, rates will start to see rates start to come down, okay? Just this morning I've been checking, and the forecast is that if we continues to get good economic data, as early as July, the Fed might start to lower that rate, or the market anyway, lower their rate, maybe September at the latest. So there are positives out there, without a doubt, without a doubt. We just got to hang in there for the time being. CPI, we talked about that. The other thing I would say is that if this debt ceiling is not resolved, and it's a more complicated than usual process, because they're talking about putting things off, if this is agreed to, until 2025, which is after the next election. So I guess that the short answer is there's more at stake in this. But let's hope the Congress and the House pass it, and then we move on. More good economic news, rates are going to start to come down. That's the message. So hang in there.
Great message.
Thanks, Tony. You make doom and gloom sound fun.
I know.
Yeah. Come on up.
But we have more.
And there's more.
And there's more.
There's a flyer that's available for you guys. It's a great illustration on the impact of where rates are today and the difference of what it's going to look like as rates go down. So if you look at it on a 450 sales price, so at 7, and we're over 7% today. Their payment is $2,993, and as it heads into 6%, which everybody's forecasting we're going to be in the high 5s, you're going to be at $2,697. So it's a savings of about $300 for our borrowers. And to my knowledge, inventory has actually come down, right? So if buyers are really wanting to see what it'll look like to marry the house and buy date for rate, this is a great illustration or flyer for them. So if you guys want this, please let us know.
So I want to ask though before you leave,
Yeah.
Because I've heard this 3 different ways. What is the rate average right now?
The rate average?
Yeah. So if I'm getting a loan, $400,000, what's the average rate?
Yeah.
So
7?
we are saying about right now 7, 7.25.
Okay.
Like I priced somebody yesterday, but today we're actually seeing improvement in the mortgage-backed securities, which is we will likely see rates hopefully get into the 7s. And then, like Tony was mentioning with the debt ceiling, if that actually gets resolved, I think we'll start to see them come down again back into the high 6s. Average is about 7, 7.25.
7, 7.25. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you guys do for refis? If you buy now and refi in 3 months?
Great question. Thank you, Keith. So
That's
we
why I'm
will
here,
do
Shelley.
no.
Not just
It's
pretty
not a
face.
pretty face.
We're not just
We
pretty
will do
face.
no
We know
lender
that.
fees on that. So you'll still have title and you'll still have an escrow
Yeah,
fee, but we
but you'll
won't
waive
charge
it?
our.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
And
Very
can I ask-
important.
Can I ask another one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I have
So
one too.
what have you guys heard on the lending side about making, including existing loans assumable? I know there's a push to make more loans assumable, including some existing ones. Have you guys heard any of that? What's the traction
I
like?
haven't heard, I do know that everybody is saying the assumable process is tough because it's servicing.
Yeah.
They're not accustomed to the approval process. If you guys remember with modifications and everything that we
Right.
went through.
They're the same
it was-
people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
They're
haven't
just
heard that
accustomed
they're
to
gonna bring
collecting
it back.
monthly
They just
fees.
collect money.
Yeah, they don't know how to do the job.
No, they
that we
don't.
have. So
It's
I
a
haven't heard anything
horrible
that will
process.
change. I
Okay.
just know stick in there because I actually am hearing success. It's just taking time.
Yeah.
It is taking time.
So I have one
Pack your
question too.
patience.
Yeah.
If I do a recast because I'm waiting for something else to sell, and this is happening, I'm getting more and more of these contingent on sale agreements, and so I'm selling my other property. Rates are fluctuating so dramatically, and I'm going to recast my mortgage. Is it possible? Do I have to do a complete refi to recast the rate? Like, can I change the rate in a recast?
Yes. No. You cannot. So on a
That was
recast.
a mixed message.
I
for
know,
you. Yes,
sorry.
no.
So wait. For us that don't know, what the heck's a recast?
Well, I'll let
Great
the lender explain.
question, Tom. So a recast, almost like volley this. A recast is an opportunity where a buyer or a homeowner can take a lump sum and do a principal reduction. You don't necessarily want to do that if it's like one payment. But the benefit of that is it'll recast that mortgage and it'll reset that actual payment based
Oh,
off
so
of
I'm
that
paying more interest
balance.
again up front.
No, you're not
Tom,
paying
the
more.
adults are talking. Let her
No,
know.
so in other words, if let's say they have a $25,000 reduction that they wanna do, and the loan balance is $250 today, the servicer would reduce that loan balance from $250 to $225 and reset that mortgage payment based on that $225.
Which is huge.
For another 30 years.
In order to change the interest rate, you do have to do a refinance.
Full refi.
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley. Shelley's always a resource of information.
Thank you, Shelley.
All right, so real quick, we can't do it for the people that are online. They'll have to put it in the chat comments of any new listings that they have. But here in the group, anyone have a listing that they want to pitch that's so amazing, so miraculous that you have unicorns in the backyard? Anybody?
No unicorn.
How about any listing? Yeah.
Okay, all the rest of the properties.
Yeah, all the rest.
Yeah.
The non-unicorn ones.
Anyone? No? I still have some great lots listed out at Bill Crease, right across the street. I mean, like, you literally can go pick fruit in the orchard. They may get mad if they find you, but I'm just saying it's right next to it. So those are on the market for $250, and a beautiful corner lot for $265. You'll love them. I could see you living there. Just call me and we'll sell it to you.
Just the land?
Just the land.
No
You have to
house.
build the house.
Oh.
Yeah. You can bring your own box.
Double wide work.
The double wide for me.
Couple of other things on the marketplace right now. So Shelley already mentioned it. Market inventory has dropped, and we're talking like a big drop. I think it was over 600 homes changed in the marketplace. We saw the price go up a whole whopping $5,000 in the median. But do you guys remember that the same thing happened about 14 months ago? Inventory dramatically started to drop. Prices dramatically started to increase, and that's what made Brandon's speeches as president so interesting, because every time he did it, he got to say the price went up, the price went up, the price went up. So I just want you to be very cognizant of it. If you're not getting the market stats, you need to make sure that you're linked in somewhere. The MLS has a class that you can go to on, what's the MLS system called? Matrix, where you can actually take.
Welcome to my age.
I've used it many times, okay? You can go and actually take the areas that you work and get specific stat numbers for those areas. So if you work the Northwest or Centennial Hills or Anthem or any of those, you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date info, right, Keith?
Can't get areas anymore.
No,
No,
they
no
can't.
haircuts.
You're welcome.
God forbid.
You're
Put it
welcome.
down.
Well, you guys are good.
You
Like,
guys screwed that up.
I do a whole newscast with these guys on the legislative session called It's Not Soup Yet. And every time I try to end the session of the podcast, they won't let me.
We have some way.
And it's really starting to upset me. And you'll see it in the most recent episodes, but make sure you're tuning in for that good info.
You got a short fuse to begin with.
Yeah,
You're not
Okay,
that,
so
you're not that far
what
from the
would
band.
you like to transition into?
I'm working on it right now. So why are we here today, you ask? This incredible group, along with Brandon, Patty, about 3 or 4 other signature agents, and another 40 or 50 Las Vegas agents, went to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress for our private property rights issues. And so Janet has organized this amazing dais, is that what you call it, the panel, the dais?
I don't know, but I just want to say that when Keith Lyman was president of the state, every association president was a female. And when we would have a meeting, we'd say, oh, it's Keith and his harem. So what's the male version of harem?
We don't want to know. A
Yeah,
mess.
look, it's
A fraternity,
it's a
fraternity
jiggly,
house.
it's a jiggly kind of thing.
Sounds like a Jerry Springer show episode.
It's usually a drug bust.
Yes. So, thanks, Janet. I was right on track. You derailed my train. I appreciate that. But Janet asked me to moderate this panel of individuals as we go through their session. But before we start that, let's talk a little bit about local political issues. And Janet, you were at the Political Affairs Committee meeting, or some meeting, and you had some updates on local information.
Well, I was at the broker forum.
That's a
but
good meeting.
First, I want to tell you, the board did something different this year.
Non-transparent?
A lot of that's happened too, but this was transparent. There are qualifications to serve as a director on the board of directors for
Oh,
LBR.
sorry, they're making it even harder?
And if you qualify, if you meet the qualifications based on your service and your time on committees, and you were all emailed an application to apply for the board of directors. Now, I will tell you right now, we have 3 people on the board. Brandon, Ellie, and Chris.
That's me.
Chris's term is up. I don't know if he's running again, and I'm not gonna ask him to commit.
I'm not.
Ellie's term is up. I'm not gonna ask him if he's running.
He should.
And Brandon will be off the board.
He quit.
He quit too.
We can have a maximum of 3. So if you were sent an application, there's a lot of weird stuff, in my opinion, as an outsider going on. And we need some common sense. So please turn in your application and Signature will support you. So that, because there are 5 board positions available. And the deadline is approaching. I cannot remember exactly when it is, but I think it's the end of the month, so you're almost out of
I
time.
think it's like next week.
I'm
actually.
thinking about maybe,
The 5th.
maybe I'll
I think
throw my
that's
name
right.
in the hat.
It's June 5th.
Go right ahead, Tom.
Oh, good lord.
Tom, if you throw your hat in the ring's gonna be.
Oh, good lord.
Another thing I want to
Please end
say
the show right now.
is, if you have a child who will be going off to college in the fall, or is in college and will be going back in the fall, LVR offers scholarships.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
You can have your grandmother your mother
Yeah.
fill out one for your daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, and they have $76,000 in scholarships to give away. So you pay your dues, that's where that money comes from, so take advantage of it.
By the way, let me just say, because I've been on that thing for forever, like Janet has. For local in-state, they give a little bit less than a kid that's traveling out of state. So if you have a kid that's out of state, you absolutely want to do it. And if you have multiple kids, you can get multiple scholarships. I know some people that have done it for years, that they got it the entire 4-year college term each semester, so it's definitely worth applying.
Great
Did you
service.
talk about designations too?
No, that's not for the fall,
That's
designations is in the spring.
But let them know so that they
Yeah,
can get ready.
Okay, so this is for students of LVR members, children and grandchildren of LVR members. But in the spring, LVR also gives away scholarships, and this is for designations. So if you want a designation, watch your email shortly. It's coming up shortly. And fill out an application to get a designation paid for, because some of these designations, let's face it, are rather expensive, but they will pay for you if you qualify.
They'll pay for part of it. You have to have skin in the game.
They'll pay for most of it. Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, so
Sounds
central
kind of
lot
risque.
fees are due. You've all been sent an email going, hey, you want to show a property, you better pay your central lot fees. They're due by July 1st. If not paid by July 1st, you're going to get a $50 late fee put on your account. If not paid by July 5th, guess what? It doesn't work anymore. You can't access property, and you have to pay the
That
full
really
fee.
sucks.
I know, it
No
plus your
refunds.
late fee, no refunds, to access property. So, another thing is, this has been around for years and years and years, and I guess maybe it hasn't been emphasized enough to new agents. But if you're listing a property, do not put the lockbox on the gas meter. What if the gas,
It could explode.
No, the gas people cut it off.
the gas company will cut it off, number 1. And number 2, I guess there's been some issues with gas meters way behind the house, and people having to go to the gas meter to get the lockbox, and they're
Yeah.
concerned about
Police get called on them and
safety
stuff.
issues. Neighbors
Horrible,
go,
bad
oh, there's
place.
somebody in the backyard,
Put
they
'em on the
call the
front
police. So, no lock boxes on gas meters. So, at the LVR broker forum, there was a huge, just very boring, till the end. And then there was a huge discussion, because 2 weeks ago, you all received in the message of the day, it said, new matrix field, seller concessions, yes or no, Y or N, mandatory. Well, some very knowledgeable brokers kind of went berserk. One of them in particular, called Jan Holly, the chief investigator for the real estate division, and said, this is something that our MLS has come up with, and it's mandatory. And he said, quote, if you're going to mark that box, you better have it in writing in your file from your seller. Huge discussion. people are crying, I need this in there because I deal with first-time homebuyers. I need to know if the seller's gonna give concessions. And then there were people in the middle who were like, yeah, my seller might give concessions. It
It
totally
depends.
depends on the offer. And then there were people like, well, my seller said no, but depending on the offer and the situation, he might. So is the seller gonna be discriminated against if you mark no? He's not going to give concessions. This really went on for about 40, 45 minutes, so people were starting to repeat themselves. So Jeff Lavelle, who does serve on the board of directors, and I'm not on the board, but from what I've observed and seen, he's the representative to the forms committee. This man does have common sense. He really does. And so he said, well, we'll take it back to the forms committee and maybe not make it mandatory. Now, I will tell you
dear
that
God.
shortly after that meeting, it was taken off the message of the day. And I meant to check MLS this morning for the listing agreement, and I totally forgot, so I don't know if it was
That's a bad
taken off the list, Brandon.
It's a violation.
First of all, it has nothing to do with forms committee, it has to do with the MLS, so he might have common sense, but he missed it. It was there, and it was really just to say that my seller is offering it now, and it was a way to search that, so I think they're reading into it more deeply. It's not to say that you'll never give it, it's just saying, I'm offering it up front. And it was a way
Bad
to
idea.
get it out of the remarks, because people are starting to put it in the public remarks.
Which is all of bad ideas are bad ideas. And now that we're on it, bad ideas are bad ideas. It's clearly a violation of our ethics. You cannot reveal the motivations of your seller, whether it's a good idea or not, whether they,
Unless your seller says.
and
Said,
even if he
I'm going
says
to.
that, you still can't reveal their motivations.
So if you have it in writing.
They can't direct you to do something illegal, and
They
unethical.
said, I wanna offer 2,000 towards closing, and you're going to market with 2,000 towards closing.
But you
Your
can only
seller
mark
said it.
yes,
That's
though.
what that was for.
Yes, but someone wants to have this 3-4%, which is a lot more,
They can always ask.
right?
Just like when you go to a builder, they offer incentives, you
Mm-hmm.
can ask for more.
They do a lot of unethical.
But by the
things.
way,
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with the board of directors, because that was an MLS thing.
Yeah,
Just want to throw that out
I
there.
just want to ask, do they take it off is it gonna just not be mandatory? I mean, it might be.
Well, as far as I know,
It's being fixed.
nobody has met yet to make an official decision. I just know it's been removed from the remarks of the day.
Okay, if it's not-
So I'm just keeping you updated in case
But-
you're one of those people that skip through the remarks.
No, I always look to make sure that no one put a condolence out for me.
Unless you have.
There is a more important thing that happened, and I've seen this ripped off twice from agents in our company, and this is really concerning because it's part of your job. It's now an automatic MLS fine if you copy old remarks. And so if you take a listing and you copy the listing, and the listing wasn't yours before, it was someone else's, and you copy what they put, so your admin, your TC, your staff, whoever it is, doesn't matter. If they copy the remarks into your listing that weren't your remarks, it's an automatic fine. And so the same thing applies if you rip off their photos. So, usually what we've seen happen in the past is you're getting really excited about taking a listing, they want it in right away, and there's a photo from a previous listing on that property with the front of the house, and so you just take that photo, put it in your listing while you're waiting for photos, automatic fine, and it's a copyright infringement on that photo, so please don't fall into that trap. That's way more important than
we need better people for MLS.
Yeah.
I'm serious. We need better people on MLS. Some of the decisions they made over the last couple of years is astonishing.
You should run.
I would kill, the first meeting I would kill somebody, so no, I can't.
That always happens.
I would make it through an LBR board meeting before I would make it through an MLS board meeting.
Okay, so let's bring it back together. Before we head to DC, we're now leaving Las Vegas. We're now in the state of Nevada, to northern Nevada, and let's talk about just a few things that happened this last week in the session, if you can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oakland A's.
Wait,
The
are you
Oakland A's
starting?
are here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
What more is
The
there?
Oakland A's are here.
Is there any other?
Wonderful news.
There are no bills other than the Oakland A's.
Actually, last week, that was about it. They're starting to close down the budget stuff, so they're starting to get through the finance stuff. All our bills, in fact, the bill that we sponsored that gives everybody cover for property management, landlord tenant, rent control, as it was described and defined by us. That bill got out, it's sitting on the governor's desk. It may have already been signed by now. So that's good news, and it's good news because now it allows us to continue to oppose every other bill that's out there that's more draconian, less input from us, although there's not very many. Most of those, everything out there's had a lot of input from us.
Real
And
quick,
here's the
real
big
quick,
thing.
wait. On that bill, before anyone gets carried away, I just want to point out something. When you say rent control,
Yep.
a couple of exemptions have applied in that bill.
Well, there's a lot of exemptions.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, but let's talk.
It's easier to say what it does cover.
Yeah, well,
People want to get all wound up in the rent control verbiage.
yes.
And they go crazy because it's too complex of a world for some of these people. So I'll boil it down to them. This one was very specific as to who this entailed, and it was senior citizens on fixed incomes that were below a certain level. So these were people of the most dire of
I don't
need.
even qualify.
The dire of need, exactly. The salary that they pay manager doesn't even.
It's
That's even too high.
I know.
So there you go. But it's very controlled on what it gains. And my message has been, and I may not ever shut up about this, but is we got to start treating Nevada homeowners differently than we treat multi-billion-dollar international corporate hedge funds, which that's what we're all really mad at. But nobody wants to focus it.
But they're getting closer.
No, they're
I mean, you were complaining about putting 4 and under in,
what
it's
it should
exempt for 4 and under, but someone came up with the idea, because they didn't like you, so they said, well, this only applies to 5 or more.
First of all, Spearman doesn't like any of us.
Or under
Yeah.
5 or more, right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, all of that chatter that you both just had, the only point I pulled out of it that was important is that it's applying to 5 or more people that own 5 or more properties
some of the-
together.
No, that bill will get, that bill will not go anywhere.
Okay.
That
It's a
was the
bill we're not
culinary bill,
supporting.
that the culinary even stopped
Here's the point,
caring.
here's the point with
And
the
I do this
bill.
every week with them. Can you believe
The
that?
bill we supported, that we got through, that the governor is going to sign, again, will allow us to oppose everything else, but more importantly, will give him the back to veto any bill that comes through.
Because he did
So if
something.
any of these other things come through, it now gives him the support and the cover to veto everything else. You can say, I signed this one, and I'm vetoing the rest.
So, still, clear as mud from the two of you. Rent control will apply to someone in a certain age bracket with a certain income level that is below that income level, then yes, it will apply to them.
Take more confidence in yourself, Chris. You
Yeah,
followed
you got
that.
it.
Am I the only
You
one,
got
or you
that.
guys out there?
Everybody else
confused?
understood
got
it, you were
that.
the
Yeah.
only one.
Those online, please like and subscribe because I need all the help I can get with these two. Anything else you guys want to bring up for that?
Oakland A's.
Yeah. And it'll be,
Oakland A's
it'll
are
be
down.
interesting to see what they do with the budget.
Yes, it will
And
be.
if they actually, do pass it, and if the governor will sign it, if his stuff hasn't been, talked about and made, put bills forward. So we'll see.
Yeah,
It's
interesting.
coming to a head.
Interesting inside ballpark stuff. They didn't give the governor a hearing on in any of his bills except for one, and that is going to send some shockwaves
Yeah.
through the building. I'm shocked that they didn't at least give him a hearing, but they didn't give him a
At least
hearing.
one.
So
Well,
if
they
they don't
give
think
us a
there's
hearing, right?
ramifications after that, I don't know. It's
It'll be a
great.
good show. Watch it on TV.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about DC. Why did these folks go to DC? And
I
every
have no
year
idea.
they make the pilgrimage to our nation's capital. And I'm going to start actually with this group with Ellie.
Oh,
Because
good
Ellie,
job.
is this your first or second time going to DC? It's your second.
Second
Okay.
time.
So Ellie, last year you were here at the meeting and you said that you absolutely enjoyed the trip, that you got a lot out of it. And now after going for the second time, what are your takeaways from DC and what did you enjoy most?
Well, I actually got more out of it this time.
That you-
What was interesting the first time is I went with Keith up the hill and met with our congressperson. That was very interesting. But this time, I was in more sessions. Most of it was globally related. And I just learned a lot more. I just learned a lot about what's going on in the global market. And that was the biggest difference.
Any takeaways from that global market? That
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of takeaways.
Let me go to my notes.
Share a few of them.
Let me go to my notes.
I'd be happy to. Right now, the big.
Janet Jr. here.
I know, I'm glad you prepared.
They're copious.
Those are the best guys.
But there were people from 18 different countries that were at the meeting. Big focus now, future, they see one of the big upstarts is going to be Africa. That's Africa is gonna be a
I
big.
can't wait to go there. Africa.
Africa.
I'm gonna
The
sell
continent of Africa.
some land in Africa.
Yeah, along, was a big part. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just information I didn't know, like the fact that China, Japan, Australia, and India make up half of the world's population.
Yeah.
That was amazing to me. They claim that we're on the verge of a global population collapse. So we're not gonna see overpopulation, we're gonna see a collapse of the population, and they see it's already has begun. Let's see.
Wait, a global population collapse.
Because all the baby
Less
boomers are
people.
dying,
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
right? We're
I saw that
dying,
movie,
and there's
Russell
not
Crowe.
enough new ones coming up.
And all the millennials are not having kids.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Did you learn, it's true that in China, it's the first time in history that they've actually had a population decrease per family.
Yeah, so.
Amazing.
I didn't realize
In
that
fact,
was the world.
they lifted the prohibition on more than
Right.
2 kids or 3 kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, we didn't mean. to
Okay, that's
interrupt you.
okay.
To start making babies?
Yeah.
Yes, they can start making more than one baby out there.
I've been trying for years, but it hasn't worked.
Okay.
West-
Keep it clean.
West-
Disney movie, not a thriller.
My copious notes.
Yes, please.
Copious.
Western Europe is having the same kind of inflation issues that we're having. A global market campaign is just to raise awareness worldwide of the Realtor brand. Now, I also sat in the SIPS meeting. And I gotta tell you, I can't remember now what SIPS stands for, you know.
Certified International Property Specialist.
Thank you. And SIPS, yeah, Certified International Property Specialist. Thank you, Chris. We happen to be hosting a big weekend here in Las Vegas. I believe it's in August for a global meeting. Will be here in town. It'd be something well worth going to. But again, we have a 77 country now with NAR. That is the country of Albania. I'm not sure what EB5 is. I can't remember. EB5?
It's a program that brings people from foreign countries to the US.
And
Yes.
some tax
And the
credits.
minimum investment is $1 million. They want to buy properties, they have to spend a minimum of $1 million.
The Sahara Hotel was reconstructed the first time with EB5.
Was it? Okay.
The Lucky Dragon was built by.
Yes, it was. The Lucky Dragon was great.
That was also EB, yes. Okay. Lucky Dragon is.
Neither
long
one
gone
succeeded
now.
on
Yeah,
the first
Well,
one.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
It shows you those great investments, folks.
There
Comes
was,
to Nevada.
there was somebody from Ghana who did speak about the great opportunities in the continent of Africa. A Canadian realtor was there talking, and James Mavoy was talking about the Canadian Real Estate Association and the restrictions they've placed on foreign investors, that it's been good and bad. It's worked well in some larger cities, hasn't worked so well in the more rural areas. If you're not familiar with it, they put restrictions on how much property, and actually some of the areas, you can't buy any property if you're a foreigner. There's a 2-year ban on it. They're trying to keep it where the citizens of Canada can have first crack at that. There was a realtor from Ukraine. I got to tell you, it was very moving. Spoke about just what's going on in Ukraine, how they're running their business, and all the great things that NAR has done to help them through this very, very trying time. Let's see. Okay, that was most of everything on global. Everything else is more on just general about debt ceiling. They talked about that, and we are closer, hopefully, seeing that resolved than we were back there. They talked about the strategic plan for next year. They're going to have a career day reaching out to the next generation, trying to bring more realtors in. They're going to make sure that this is coming up in Anaheim. Anaheim is all booked, ready to go, and it sounds like it's going to be some fantastic trip. We did go to a ballpark, not to play games and have fun, was to meet with our legislators, and we're doing something similar without the legislators, but we're going to do something similar in Anaheim at their
We're
stadium.
gonna meet Mickey Mouse.
We'll meet Mickey
Yeah.
Mouse. Well, we met Mickey Mouse in Washington.
Yeah.
We're going to meet the other Mickey Mouse now in Anaheim.
That's good.
That was pretty much it. That was really about all I got.
What is Anaheim?
Yeah, what is Anaheim?
Anaheim is the national.
Anaheim's our next national convention in November.
Okay.
It's the one that we were gonna have here, but they
They
had to
bumped it.
switch it
It's
because
November
of
11th
F1.
and 17th.
Formerly 1 week.
Formula 1 week. Yeah, that's true. That's
It
what
is.
it is.
That's
Yeah.
why they
Yeah.
bumped it.
Okay, so Ellie, thank you for that. Glad you enjoyed it for a second year in a row. Next, we'll go to Keith, and Keith is a seasoned DC traveler. Seasoned DC
Season.
traveler.
You still have blisters on your feet.
Tell us your key
22
takeaways.
years.
22
22
years.
years. Yeah. Haven't missed any. It's still, it always will be my favorite. I have missed national conferences and will actually miss this year, I think, as well. But I won't miss the ISO come mid-year. So love it. It's a great opportunity. We did try something different this year, which realtors are not real comfortable with.
Yeah.
Trying anything new, and that's, we, instead of going to the Hill, which we've had some great, fantastic meetings, and we're so fortunate in Nevada. Some states don't get to meet with all their legislators. Some of the legislators won't even meet with their realtor. We've never had that issue. In the 22 years, we've never had anybody that won't schedule us. There's maybe been one or two that we couldn't get in because of scheduling, but all of them have been 100% supportive of us. In fact, when Harry Reid became majority, we used to go to each individual office, which was a mess. You'd have 40 or 50 people, running around and hearing everybody, Patty Kelly yelling at us for, walking too fast and everything else. And it was, humid and everything else trying to get there. Harry Reid became the majority, and he got us one single room, and we went to the room, and all the legislators came to us. Which was unheard of. And there have been a few states that have now, since then, have done that, but it was all because we set that up. So this time was different. They got the National Stadium. It was all access, all everywhere. I didn't get to go anywhere other than our booth because we had to wait for our legislators to come up. But great event for those that went around. Heard great things that people were going down in the lockers and everything else. And then we had our legislators come in, and our staff too. That was the most important thing. Our staff came.
Mostly staff.
What most people don't know, and if you've never been back or watched House of Cards or any of that, the staff runs DC, right? I mean, the staff members are the ones that coordinate their federal legislator. But what I heard, and Keith is the FPC, Federal Political Coordinator for Stephen Horsford. So if you're a realtor or you have a home in that district, Keith is your liaison as a realtor to Congressman Horsford for those issues. But he came to the event when many other legislators did not come at all.
But
I
I haven't heard a final count, but
Congressman
Horsford came. He's a good friend and very influential. He's the chairman of the Black Caucus back there. He's on financial services, which is obviously huge for us. Loans and or financial world and all that. He will be back on Ways and Means. He was on Ways and Means last time, but because of the overturn, but he will get back on that next time. But very, very influential back there. So it's important for Nevada to have that. And I would say whether it's a DNR, it's a realtor party, and how they vote is how we judge them on. It's not DNR, it's not everything else. It's how do they vote on realtor issues.
Absolutely agree. All right, so this is exciting. We have a state president who just went to his first mid-year meeting as the state president. When you're state president, this is like the capstone that you put on of the meeting series that you go to.
You're building it way up,
Capstone.
way too much.
So tell us what it was like being state president mid-year this year, Tom, and what did you take away from that?
So I didn't have time to breathe. I got there Friday afternoon.
Meetings didn't start till Monday, but that's okay.
Right. Well, for everybody else, right? Because I had meetings Saturday afternoon. I had meetings all day Sunday, all day Monday, Tuesday. I think Wednesday I took off because I wasn't feeling well, and then I had the NAR board meeting. But it was, you didn't come in until Monday. You came in, must be nice.
He had
Look
an
at me,
excuse- he had an excused absence.
I'm not the president.
So we had,
You're fortunate I didn't come in Tuesday. That's when I really was wanting to come in.
right, so we had, so the federal political coordinator stuff, we all met beforehand for the buildup of the stadium thing. And with that, and then all the state presidents meeting and the different meeting rooms and conversations that we had over what it's like, what are the issues in your state, what are the issues in that state. It was way over the top, way over the top. And then we had regional meetings for Region 11 as well with all their presidents and everybody. So it was a lot.
Okay, if you had to ballpark one or two takeaways, what's number one and two? By the way, you said FPC. You're an FPC for
Susie Lee.
Susie Lee, that's right. Okay, cool.
So takeaway. The most important thing we do is mid-year. Forget about Anaheim. Mid-year is the bread and butter of us being able to make sure that we maintain the relationships with DC and our legislators. Without this trip and without the people going and without a lot of people going, we would become forgotten. I was skeptical on the stadium thing and having assistants and schedulers and interns really the party was for them, right? It wasn't really meant for the legislators. But like they told me, I go, today's scheduler is, next cycle or two's chief of staff, right? So it is important to make sure that we maintain those relationships or start having those relationships with the staff so that when I do send an email or make a call, it gets picked up or responded to, and we were able to make sure that we get our message across. We only had like 5 minutes with the politicians. We had a whole lot of time with their staffers because they're young, they're not paid much, and something like this where it's a party and an event, they were all in, right? They had to kick them out at the end, right? So it was really good on that end. You gotta remember, they're all young, and this is something. Yeah, you're young and broke, so I'll stay here and eat hot dogs all night long, and drink as much booze as you're gonna give me, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. See you later. See you next year. So that's it.
Tom, that was riveting. I appreciate it.
Okay, let me say something. There's a lot of people, simple-minded people that will criticize what the association does for travel and how much money they spend to send 40, at some point 100,
Well, yeah,
100
people.
100 people from Nevada that go out there. But let me just say this. First of all, it's more than just going back there and traveling. It's about networking, and as important as that is or isn't, it's learning what's going on across the country, across the globe. I know Ellie learned some things about the globe that he didn't know before, that he can come back and guess what? Not only benefit Ellie and his clients, but the office and the industry as a whole. As he sits on the board, he will go out and talk to people about what he learned globally. You go back and you learn what's going on in North Dakota and Maine and everything else. And again, you spread that out. But here's the other thing. Even if none of that existed, it's no secret that they released that they ended the fees on FHA in the middle of our mid-year. That is no secret. And if anybody thinks that it is, you're nuts. That was planned, and it was effectual, and it was, as much as I criticize NAR, and I do, there was a purpose behind all that. So if that's the only thing that we got out of it, think of that, the money that we're saving our clients, our industry, and our association. So when they look at the travel budget, it's short-sighted and simple. It's simple to say, oh, that's a lot of money. And don't take into account what really comes back to us. So,
good point.
I'm done.
Janet, we have come to the point of the copious notes section of the meeting. And if you guys have never traveled with Janet, she sits next to you and you can't hear the speaker over her pen because it's writing so fast.
That and her telling us to shh.
Yeah, shh, shh. So Janet, tell us your top takeaways from DC.
Okay, so really and truly, everything Keith said is true. That's why we go. The DC trip is really hard because come in on Sunday at 7, travel all day at the airport at 7 a.m., 7 p.m. by the time you get to your hotel. All I had to eat all day Sunday was a bag of Cheetos and a bag of M&Ms.
Oh, you didn't fly Southwest?
But anyway, so, and then the first meeting, mandatory meeting, is 8 o'clock the next morning, which when you look at it, it's 5 o'clock, my body time, but hey, this is not natural beauty, so I have to get up early to get the hair and everything else, so I'm up at 3 a.m. So it's a hard trip, but it is well worth it. First thing I want to tell you is your dues are going up next year. And they're all going up. They're going up for a number of reasons. One is because of the expected decline in the number of realtors for next year and to keep our reserve strong, but they're going up a whopping $6.
$6. $6.
Feel free to repay 10 years.
And trust me, there was a lot of conversation about that too at the board meeting. Some wanted to do a lot more.
Yeah, some wanted to make it like $200.
Yeah.
But, right now you pay $150 a year
You're
in
paying
AR
$150
dues, and then in 2024, you'll pay $156. So there's a lot of things going on too. The big discussion of my not mandatory meetings was really fair housing. And one of the things that was passed by the board of directors, right now you have to take triennial ethics, required by NAR, not by the state, NAR. Starting next year, you will have to take triennial fair housing course. Now, there are very few fair housing courses. Now, they're only asking for a 2-hour course. None of us want to take a 2-hour course, because what are we going to do with a 2-hour course? We want a 3-hour course. So I can see a lot of instructors out there going, ooh, I need to write a 3-hour fair housing course, because it will be mandatory for you to maintain your NAR membership starting 2025? Starting next year, 2024.
No, that's for the directors. They have a phase in. For those that are NAR directors, you have to have it, right, by next year. For everybody else, 2025 was the start date for everybody else.
And you have 3 years.
But, and you do have 3 years. Oh my God. So here is the thing too. If you want to be an NAR director, these are the following things you must take. And you must have the At Home with Diversity certification. You must take the bias override class, Overcoming Barriers to Fair Housing. You must take the Fair Haven training, and your 2 hours of an agency CE class. Oh, just keep all that in mind. So the big thing that came out of risk management is artificial intelligence. And I guess it's really big.
Some people have it, some people don't.
I'm very hard.
Sorry.
So I was in a meeting that actually Brandon is the coach there, and we were at a round table having discussion, and I was talking with a lady who was from the Houston Association of Realtors. Now, if you don't know, Houston is like the creme de la creme. They have 50,000 realtors. They paid their CEO $1 million a year. Their MLS has adopted, what do you call that thing that I never can remember?
ChatGPT.
Yes, what, say again?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
They have AI.
Is now part of their MLS, and they are using it to write
Descriptions.
the agent remarks. Amazing.
Imagine that. And it's not copywritten. They can't get in trouble.
But you can get in trouble because what you need to do is be sure it is your own work. So you may have to, you're going to be held responsible for everything that ChatGPT writes. You're going to have to check it and maybe change a few words to put it into your own words. So I don't think we're looking at having that anytime soon.
Well, I mean, ChatGPT doesn't. When you use ChatGPT to make a description, it doesn't know about all the fair housing words that you cannot use. So it's pretty funny to have ChatGPT write one and put it in there and see all the yellow and red that comes up. So you just,
Kind of defeats the purpose of.
no, it gives you a basis. You change the word so it's not discriminatory, and you are done. It's a great thing. If you have not been using it, for God's sakes, use it. It's made me so much more intelligent than I could ever be.
No, it actually hasn't. You're still
So,
as dumb as you were when you started. Yeah.
So the main reason that I
It
went,
just
other
appears,
than
yeah.
it's just quite an experience I've done for the past, I think, 12 years, is that I am on the NAR Professional Standards Committee. And I don't know if you've seen it, the Pathway to Professionalism, which if you ever taken a CE course from Neil Schwartz, he has that on the last page of his class outline. And there was a subgroup of the Professional Standards Committee that met, and they've rewritten it to update it, and a lot of things have been changed. Now, if you go, this was probably written in, I don't know, early 80s, but if you go through it, in many, many places, it says agent will call, return all calls, call. One thing they've done is they have changed the word call to communicate.
Wow, that's some awesome work there.
Are we talking about their pagers?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Where did they change that word?
In the Pathways to Professionalism.
Pathways to Professionalism.
Look it up on the NAR website.
Now, at this point, I just had the red line marked through. This is why we changed this copy. But when I get the final, I will be sure that you all get a copy of the new one. Also, one thing about professional standards I need to tell you is you spend half your time wordsmithing. People will discuss the difference between two words for an hour and a half.
You gotta be a special person to wanna be on this.
And I'm just like, come on, let's move along. But if you don't know, last session I did talk about this, through all the fair housing stuff, it mentions the word handicap. Handicap is being taken out and it's being changed to disability. That was an hour and a half discussion. Another thing that's going to be changed is if you show up at a professional standards hearing, you've always been asked to swear that you're going to tell the truth. A lot of people object to the word swear, so that's going to be changed to affirm.
Is that what we do in our court?
I affirm.
Yeah, you affirm. Yeah.
It's not a court.
It's
It's
not a court.
I know, but it's the same.
Yeah, it's,
Not a court.
our verbiage said, I swear or affirm.
We've been saying affirm for
Yeah.
a few years,
Oh.
professional standards. Yeah.
Just don't go there.
Well, I was in a professional standards hearing Thursday, and the words they used were swear.
Wow.
But anyway, okay,
Yeah,
also,
I'm ahead of the times, and I've been doing it for a few years.
another thing that came along, and to me this was common sense, is if the chair of the professional standards hearing committee feels that anyone is in danger or is being threatened, they can stop the meeting. And I'm like,
On Zoom?
we're meeting in person now. Professional standards is no longer on Zoom, they meet in
What's happened in the last few weeks?
person. So basically, that was about it, from professional standards, which took
You
about,
have another 5 pages.
oh, well, that's the other meetings that I
Those are
went
Chico's
to.
orders at different places in DC.
I didn't even make it to a Chico's in DC. So, the first meeting we had to go to, mandatory Monday morning at 8 o'clock, was the opening session of Federal and Legislative Political Forum. And they talked about the debt level, and they talked about the United States is the only company with a debt limit, which I found strange. What else is really?
Janet, if you had to pick one thing out of all those notes, the one thing, and you only had 5 seconds left to tell somebody about it, what would be the most important thing in those notes?
See, you can't pick just one thing.
I can't pick just one thing, but I will tell you, I want to piggyback back to what Keith and Ellie and Tom were talking about when we all went to the ballpark. When we checked in at registration, we were all given blue T-shirts, and we were all asked to wear our blue T-shirts, and most people did. And you have no idea the sea of blue as you looked anywhere in the stadium, on the concourse, on the field, everywhere. that alone made an impression. They were estimating, what, 6,000 realtors showed up for that?
Yeah, I haven't heard the final count, but
Sure.
yeah, close to
Sure.
10.
Yeah,
Well,
6 to
yeah,
10.
yeah.
Well, there were
6 to 10.
Yeah.
6 to
registered.
10.
It was most impressive.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, the staff from our representatives' offices had an absolute ball.
Janet, that was good stuff. So
Where,
I've only got 4 minutes left, and we're gonna take just a sideline, because I'm gonna ask Brandon to come up for a minute. Just come up here for a second by the speaker.
yeah,
real quick.
Brandon.
So if you guys didn't know, Brandon is the chair of the broker forum, or the vice chair. He'll be chair next year. You brought up something the other day in a meeting that was extremely important, and it was about the Realtor Tools section. And so talk about that for just a quick second. You
I
know,
was
all
gonna
of the,
do that next
no,
Tuesday.
we're gonna hear it from him. Tell us a little bit about it, just quick.
The Realtor Tools section?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
realtor dot,
You know, the thing,
realtor.
Yeah.
So we got,
Communication.
competition.realtor,
Competition.
is a place that you can go to get, conversation starters, stuff like that differentiate us as realtors from your average real estate professional, or real estate agent, I should say. Because you don't have to be a realtor in the state of Nevada or anywhere in the country, to sell real estate. You just have to have a real estate license, so there's a true difference. And there's lots of stuff on there that you can print out and put in your listing presentations to show your value. In fact, they just redid a thing, it's
179, yeah.
179 different ways that we're worth every penny, basically. It's really helped, there's other things on there to show you how you can have those conversations about commissions with your buyers, so that they understand how the commissions and all that stuff works. So, and that's designed to help us in the court of public opinion because of all the lawsuits and stuff with NAR right now on commissions. And it's very important that we learn how to have those conversations and get buyer brokers and stuff signed, so your buyers understand that your services aren't free, that they do cost money, it's just where the money comes from.
So I went and checked that out, 179 ways or 75, it was somewhere in there.
179.
179. I've been asked by so many agents in the company, you know, hey, I want to put in my listing presentation. What do I tell my client that I do? It's funny because a lot of times people don't charge commission that they think they're worth because they don't think they're worth it, right? And so this is a great document. I mean, 179 ways is a ton. It's just a lot of info. The other thing that came out from this is they're trying to get the URL .realtor to become more prominent with the realtors. So you can still reserve your name, and it's free to reserve your name, but it's money if you reserve different. Yeah, use it. It's not very much. It's like $20 or whatever. But check that out. It's also on the site. Anything that you wanted to add from your takeaway from DC?
The other thing is Photify, the app Photify. They have a partnership with NAR, and there's lots of social media stuff that's brandable to your company and to you individually, so you don't have to recreate that stuff. You can use it in your social media. It'll give you more of a professional feel to everything that you're putting out there, and also promote the Realtor brand and the difference of being that. My biggest thing is I love DC, this trip. It's when I wasn't on the board, it's one that I missed, and when I'm off the board, I'll probably pay to go to myself because there's so much value in it. It's a lot during that week, and a lot of places you have to be, but there's good downtime too. And then I got there was a room that was kind of a congregation point because people stay in hotels all over, that the state put together, and that was really good to be able to go up there, and the conversation you have with the other realtors that are here in the state in a different environment outside of the heat of the battle, so to speak, and get to know them a little bit better and be able to get deals done and stuff like that. So that was
That's awesome.
the big thing. So
First time I haven't been in 10 years, so I felt so left out.
he kept checking in, he kept calling, he kept texting his mom.
Where are you at now?
Lois has a lot of good
Yes,
stuff.
Lois, tell us about your classes coming up, please.
Yeah.
So June.
Thanks, Brandon.
We start our classes next Wednesday, June 7th. Not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. And then we have another class 6/21.
What's the class on 6/21?
That's going to be Tom's class called So You Want to Know About REO.
Holy mackerel, REO class?
REO class.
Holy, nobody does REO classes for
And it's
CEs.
already got tons of people in it, so, sign up at signatureschoolnv.com, and that's where you sign up at.
Pack the house. Here we go.
So I've got June set up, and then I've got, July set up also, so we're ready to go for both those months.
Very cool.
CE,
Where do they
post,
sign up for? Where do they sign up at?
signatureschoolnv.com.
And don't we even have another one? Did you turn the other one in yet?
Which one?
So you want to sell an REO?
No.
You haven't
It's a
turned that
whole
one
book
yet?
series, just like
Yeah,
Nancy
you have to
drew.
send it to me.
Oh, I gotta send it to, okay, I wrote another one too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that.
Oh,
one.
okay.
I'll get it.
You reek of desperation.
Yes, he does.
ChatGPT.
Okay, I just say one thing.
All right, one more thing, Janet, one more thing.
Okay, so we all went because we're on NAR committees. If you're a Realtor, you are invited to these meetings. The next one's in Anaheim. It's driving distance, but I will tell you it's probably cheaper to fly because in California they charge, what, $80 a day to park your car? So, but the one in Anaheim is more set up for, how to take a listing, what to say to your buyers, how to discuss commission, all different classes. They're usually about an hour and it's jam-packed. And if you have the money to invest in your career, I would suggest you do it. It's in our backyard.
Just to piggyback on what Janet said, when they hold these conventions for the 2 a year for NAR, they run a governance track and an education track. So the education track spiders out to multiple segments in every broker management, agent business, the whole thing. So don't feel that you have to be connected to a committee or any of that. You can literally go and hear the major national speakers come in from all over the country just because of it. So it's good stuff. Thank you guys for going. Thank you for supporting our Realtor family. And Janet said at the beginning of the meeting, if you too would like to be an involved Realtor Tour Association, now is the time to start. Applications are due by June 5th. They have on June 23rd the YPN 40 under 40, which Signature had 6.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations, Chris.
I'm Hall of Fame. I'm
Finally.
no one still believes I'm under 40.
No, I know.
Yeah.
You're not.
And I remember who those people are that said that too.
Oh, no.
And so thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Signature, have a great, productive week. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's all acknowledge Janet and her copious notes. Yay, Janet.
Copious notes.
I didn't get to have my notes.